Aaron,
Yes.
glad to see you, buddy.
What's up?
You said you went to describe what you were talking about backstage. You went to a car meet and you had a car buddy that
I wish I had taken pictures, but I was just, I was meeting up with friends I hadn't seen in like 4 years. So I went to, it's called like Car Audio World Finals, but it's not really World Finals. It's just like whoever can make it to this location in the U.S.
finals.
This year was in Birmingham. Yeah, like this year was in Birmingham, Alabama. There was like maybe 50 or so different people there. And so I started competing in car audio around 2007 or 2008, and I was pretty heavy into it until a few years ago, and I'm going to get back into it this new season, so the 2024 season. So I just went to hang out with friends. It's like an hour drive from me, and I got to listen to some really nice car stereos. And the goal, for those who don't know, with that side of car audio is for sound quality. So you try to make it sound as good as it possibly can, and your goal really is to try to make it sound like a reference 2-channel system. And some people are getting into multi-channel setups, but that's kind of a little bit further out. And one of the cars that I got to listen to, I was telling these guys about it backstage, is my friend Gerald Costa, who I've known about 8 or so years. I met him at an event in North Carolina that my buddy Jason Bartholomew puts on at his house. And Gerald, I believe, is retired. He was an electrician, so he was in the trade. And he took his big panel van, like this huge work truck van thing, not van, but I guess really it is a work truck. And it's crazy. So it's normal driving, right? And then what he does for demos is he has this on like a track, the chair. He slides it over to the center of the car, and then you're in the perfect position. So you're in the center of the vehicle, and then he'll take the car and he'll plug it in to an outlet at these shows, and that's how he feeds the car. So it's not off 12 volt, it's off 120 volt, like your home system. It's nuts, dude. And he's got 10-inch mid bass up at the top of the car. I think 5 or so inch focal drivers midway, RAL tweeters at the bottom that are about ear height, and a subwoofer behind you. And he says that he's not running anything else, but I told him, and this is to his face, and if Gerald, you happen to watch this, you know that I think you're full of crap. Because the car does some crazy stuff. Now, I'll be honest, as far as like a pure 2-channel system, it does things that's very distracting, but at the same time, they're kind of fun and neat. So that was a experience for sure. Gerald's a good guy. He's a flat earther, but other than that, he's a good guy. And so I got to listen to a few other buddies' cars and just I hung out, man. I got there around maybe 10 o'clock, left at around 7 o'clock. I pretty much stood up all day just talking to friends. And that's what it's about. That's why I like going to the meets and the get-togethers and the shows, because you get to meet up with friends and meet new people in person and share the passion. And I got to sit in cars and give feedback and talk about, hey, it sounds like in the mid-range, the vocalist is at the center of the stage, but in the lower mid-range, maybe below 200 hertz, the vocalist is to the right. So you need to work on your time alignment, maybe some of your amplitude. You need to work on phase alignment, things like that, to get everything locked in place from 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. And doing that as a hobby for the longest time really taught me how to listen, but it also taught me, personally speaking, I'm more hands-on, so it taught me how to better identify how to fix problems. So if you hear something, it's not right, that's different from being able to identify where it's not right and what to do to fix it. And being in car audio for so long and trying to maintain and achieve like a really good reference 2-channel system taught me so much more about audio than I would have ever learned from home audio. Because in home audio, dude, you sit in the middle of the speakers and that's it. There's really no having to mess with time alignment. If your room is relatively symmetrical, you don't really have to worry about equalization for the left speaker and the right speaker and trying to make them match to get that symmetry. You don't have to worry about amplitude adjustments. It's most of the stuff is already baked into the speaker that you're listening to. So at most, you are going to try to do that with the subwoofer to the mains. But in home audio, very interesting too, that there's not a lot of resources available DSP wise. I mean, it's becoming more prevalent with stuff like the mini DSP, but in car audio, you have to have DSP, and you have to have pretty powerful DSP to get things to sound even remotely good. I mean, it'll sound all right, but with timing and phase, you'll barely have an image. Tonally, it'll sound all right, but as far as imaging goes, forget that crap without DSP or some significant cutting and modifications of the vehicle itself. So that's why I say, my first love is BMX. My second love is car audio. And I'm I'm really looking forward to get back into it the next season and hang out.
I can't wait for you to combine the two and see your tricked out BMX with all these speakers.
So here's how do you find the new cars? Because a lot of the new cars, they have, I think, pretty decent systems, and you can't really change stuff out easily. Like back in the day, you could change out your head unit. Now, if you can't touch that because it connected to all your other stuff, it controls everything. So you can't change out, the main the head unit part.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And that's the control center, right? So if you can't change that out, what do you do? So what I've seen a lot of people do is they'll basically bypass their car's head unit and they'll get a DAP of some sort. Maybe they'll use their iPhone, or they'll actually go out and buy a nice quality Astle and Kern type DAC, and then they'll have that routed via a coaxial cable or optical cable to a DSP. So they completely bypass the car's system entirely. Right. And other people like myself, I didn't want to do that because I don't like fidgeting with different players. So in my Tesla, I actually had the guys who did the install take the speaker level inputs and run it into a DSP. And then the DSP, I do all the configuration of channel mapping and things like that. The signal may not be as clean, possibly, as something like a DAP with the coaxial output, but it's good enough, and I don't have to fool with that kind of stuff. Now, a lot of people that compete too are still also using older cars. The ones that I see the most coming along are trucks. There's so many trucks that we saw there, and newer trucks, like 2018 and up trucks. And Alpine and other companies make kits for these, so where you can take out the radio, and yes, it pulls out the OEM AC controls and things like that, but this new thing will also have that built in, but you're going to pay $2,000 or $3,000. Now when you get beyond that, I don't really have a lot of expertise in it, but that's just kind of what I see going on.
Yeah, I've seen I have the JBL MS8, right?
Yeah, I had that.
It has to undo a lot of stuff. Like, so if you plug it into a BMW system, that already has its own DSP, and it tries to like undo the stuff that it's doing. Yeah. So that you can start with a flat response. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah. What vehicle is the most conducive to a good car audio system? Like, if you just look, I know. Like, which one? But okay, go.
It's an old car. So
I mean, it's easier with an old car. For sure, because there's less stuff to have to get around.
Imagine, like, we have a minivan for the kids, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that's like, it's pretty wide. There's a lot of places to put speakers. It's like an old school, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
I feel like the wider the space and the more open, like the less stuff that's in the way.
This guy right here.
It's a decent sounding system. What is like a system? What's a car that seems like it would be good for that?
Right here. I don't have the.
You think so?
No, we know so. So if you put speakers in the back here, you put a subwoofer in the back here. This arc of the roof actually has like a good. It disperses it like out more like evenly. Away from the car. Like, it's crazy. It's like a waveguide. Yeah.
Yeah. My old neighbor had 215s in his Beetle.
Well, yeah. No, I mean, in all seriousness, that's what I was going to say is hatchbacks, usually are a little bit easier when it comes to subwoofer, and it's kind of for the same reason that Chana. It actually is for the same reason that Chana's saying. Squared off trunks and things like that, they create problems. The closer you can put the subwoofer to the rear of the vehicle, like like the actual trunk lid, the better off you are. A lot of times people will put them at that trunk wall separator, and what happens is you get a cancellation from that rear trunk right back at the listening position. And it's usually around 60 hertz. And then you've got a cancellation on the left side driver mid bass that's around 80 hertz. So there's really no way to try to, like, you can't cross the subwoofer up too high because you'll run into that null, and you can't cross the front mid bass too low because you'll run into that null, and you create audible issues like queuing issues. But to answer your question, I think in a more succinct way is just to say that it depends on if you're going with like an OEM look, because a lot of the OEM vehicles now will have dashboard mid-ranges firing up at the windshield, right?
Right.
Yeah. And that actually works out really well, because the closer you can move it to that reflecting surface, the less like a reflecting surface it acts as.
Yeah.
So, but the only problem there is the tweeter. So then you got to put the tweeter somewhere else. And I don't know if I've seen factory radios with the tweeters in the same location as the mid-range on the dash. Usually they're in the sail panel or maybe the A-pillar. And that distance of separation creates issues with comb filtering, lobing, power handling for the tweeter or for the mid-range relative to the tweeter. So it creates its own issues, man.
So there's these guys will go crazy. Has like a generally better imaging, because usually the imaging and soundstage is really tough. That's Absolutely. The hard part. You know, tonality, you can get tonality pretty decent, you know, but the imaging is, it's hard to make it so it's not sounding like you're in a car because you're in a car. So that's why I was wondering if a larger vehicle helps out with the acoustics rather than a smaller one as far as imaging.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah,
it can, but it can also create its own issues too, you know?
Okay.
So there really is, it's just like everything else. It's a compromise. You know, when I bought my last car, not the Tesla, but the Civic I had before, I bought a hatchback because I knew that it would work well for certain things. It didn't come with mid-ranges, so I had to pay my installer to pull my windshield out, custom build me a dash. I mean, dude, it was nuts. So I put mid-ranges up there.
So what do you get for winning? Like, you get a prize?
Oh, man, you don't
money? Like,
is a trophy.
A trophy?
Yeah,
I've never competed in any car audio stuff, but it seems like it'd be kind of fun just to try to do something.
All right, everybody. We do the Daily Hi-Fi podcast every Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So make sure you join up to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Daily Hi-Fi, and we will see you there for the big show every Monday. Yeah.